I have to be honest. I don't think a single story in this show has made my analysis feel as redundant as this one has. Going into this analysis, I figured I would talk about how Worries shows us just how much Nishikata has come to understand Takagi, but this point is so nakedly obvious that I might as well make a video about how Takagi teases Nishikata because she secretly likes him. Not every analysis needs a hot take, but this is Worries we're talking about. It's a milestone story for the season. Surely I can do better than talk about the one aspect of the story that even the most casual viewer can easily grasp. Well, turns out I can. So strap yourselves in for this analysis of Worries, a story found 8 minutes into episode 9 that is based on the manga's 44th chapter. To begin, I will briefly discuss Nishikata's observational skills in this story because, as obvious as it is, it's still the main point being made. Nishikata knows that something is wrong with Takagi from the moment she wishes him a good morning. You can see from his facial expression that he is somewhat surprised and maybe even a little confused. He doesn't immediately understand what's going on, as Mano did in Swimsuit or Kimura will in Summer Festival, but he understands that something is off, even if he can't put it into words. As an audience, we can easily tell that something is wrong as well, given that her idle facial expression looks more like the face she made in seating arrangement as opposed to cold. But once again, this story uses their classmates to set the bar of understanding. Takagi's closest friends don't appear to notice that anything is off, showing us that the act of normalcy she is putting on is enough to fool everyone around her except for Nishikata. Speaking of Nishikata, the scene where we see Takagi talking with her friends also tells us something important about him. After being called out for and denying that he was looking at Takagi, as soon as his friends are distracted again, he goes right back to looking at her. What this means is that at this point in time, Nishikata isn't willing to face embarrassment head on, but he is willing to risk being embarrassed to check on Takagi. During Nishikata's walk home, we see something extremely rare for this show. Usually when his conscious and subconscious mind collides, they are at odds with each other. The subconscious mind tells Nishikata that he is in love with Takagi, and his conscious mind denies, deflects, or distracts him from that truth. This time, however, his subconscious mind is telling him that something is wrong with Takagi, and when his conscious mind does what it always does, look at the situation through the lens of their rivalry, he noticed that she didn't tease him at all that day, leading his conscious mind to agree with his subconscious one. Something is definitely wrong with Takagi. Move forward to Nishikata finding Takagi. Notice how her expression is similar to the one she had in Camping Trip when Nishikata found her under the stars, although her expression while calling his name is far less excited. Think back to that moment in Camping Trip. As far as Takagi was concerned, Nishikata had found her when she was at her lowest. History has appeared to repeat itself, but this is quickly disproven by Nishikata when he tells Takagi that he found her by seeing her bike. This disappoints her because it turns out he had found her by coincidence, and it's likely that he was not actively looking for her when he stumbled on her bike, nor would he know her well enough to find her without help. But why would this bother her so much? If she's upset about the fight she had with her mother, then why would Nishikata not looking for her make her feel this disappointed? Well, here comes the bombshell. We find out in a later story that Takagi's argument was over whether she would be home for the summer festival. Takagi wanted to be home for the summer festival so that she could go with Nishikata. At this moment, after feeling down for an entire day, it's possible that she has begun to wonder if the argument was even worth it, if Nishikata is really worth fighting for. You can't blame Takagi for having this train of thought. We assume as an audience that Nishikata is Takagi's first crush, and the only conflicts that she has had to face have been out of her control, like being on summer break or moving seats. But now, for what is likely the first time in her life, she has a chance to overcome an obstacle by getting rid of it altogether. But she has had to put herself into an uncomfortable position to do so. Experiencing this kind of adversity for the first time will very likely shift anyone's perspective and or make them reevaluate their priorities. When Takagi opens the box and the cotton springs out, she is overwhelmed with an intense sense of joy. This could be due to the inherently nostalgic nature of a Jack-in-the-Box style prank, or because Takagi understands that Nishikata interacts with her mostly through competition, and believes that this prank was his way of cheering her up without admitting to anything that could embarrass him. She tries to play along with this by asking if he had come to find her to give her the box, giving him a chance to say yes and avoid having to admit that he was worried about her. But he doesn't take the opportunity. He admits that he thought something was strange about her, and she does seem genuinely shocked that he either noticed or was able to admit that he had noticed. Of course, when he contextualizes his gut feeling with her lack of teasing, she laughs, because he is still the same old Nishikata on the surface, even if he has changed in ways that he doesn't understand. After having a good laugh, Takagi does something that we have never seen her do throughout the show. She opens up and confides in him. She tells him what had been bothering her that day, and that he had just cheered her up. Now, you might want to point out, Takagi saying that she was bothered about her mother would mean that my prior point is invalid, but just because the argument was the catalyst for the spiral doesn't mean that it has been all about the argument itself. Perhaps part of what was making her feel down was her lack of determination during the argument. Perhaps coming up against that kind of adversity made her unsure about her priorities. Nishikata coming to cheer her up may have reaffirmed her priorities and given her the determination to see the argument through until she gets what she wants, or can at least say that she gave it her all. Nishikata unwittingly proved to her through this act that he is worth fighting for. Of course, anyone who has had an argument with a loved one will be upset afterwards, regardless of the underlying priority questioning. But I still believe that Nishikata did not merely distract Takagi from her conflict, he gave her the assurance and determination she needed to solve it. On initial viewing, I thought that this story was about Nishikata discovering how attuned he is to Takagi's overall vibe, and how he is the most likely to notice when something is wrong. While that is true, this story is also, in fact, a story about Takagi's feeling for Nishikata being reaffirmed, and determining what she is willing to go through to make her relationship with him a reality. As we know, this all works out. Not only does she make up with her mother, but she also gets her way. Her newly found determination seeing her through the discussion and convincing her mother to move the vacation dates. Of course, we know that being in town for the summer festival is only the first step in going with Nishikata. Next, he needs to ask her, and that's exactly what she is going to work towards. And that is it for this analysis. Thank you to Orion Tran and Quincy Chamberlain for supporting me on Patreon. If you'd like to join Orion and Quincy, or the wonderful crowd on the Discord server, you can do so via links in the description. If you'd like to see the outtakes for free, you can find them on my Patreon or on the Discord server. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.